Is this the work of digital vandals, Twitter trolls, or is there something far more sinister? Good evening, I'm Gaurav Sawant, and the Congress parties claim that there was a sinister attempt to tarnish the image of India's first Prime Minister, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, and that was done at the behest of the government. That's our top focus story. While lashing out at the Narendra Modi government, the Congress party has alleged that this editing on Wikipedia was done from an IP address belonging to the government-owned National Informatics Centre. Addressing a press conference, the Congress party spokesperson Randeep Singh Surjewala sought Prime Minister Narendra Modi's reply in this regard. Details of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru's alleged affair with Edwina Mountbatten, the wife of India's last Governor General, Lord Mountbatten, were also added to this Wikipedia page. These edits were later deleted by volunteer Wikipedia editors. Is this the job of internet trolls? Is this vandalism? Or is there something that's far more sinister? Tweaking history, saying Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru's grandfather was actually a Muslim. And I want to bring in Sanjay Jha of the Congress party for more on this. I also want to bring in Ijaz Ilmi of the BJP. Dr. Ilmi, when Government of India speaks of digital India, we're looking at something that's far more sinister, as the Congress alleges. Will the BJP government investigate this very serious allegation?
You know, Wikipedia is an open web-based encyclopedia which is controlled by the Wikipedia Foundation. This is clearly an act of vandalism done by somebody, whether it's trolls or whoever, and this is totally against the policy of Wikipedia also, and totally against the set norms of how one has to use the internet. Obviously, the National Informatics Centre, which controls most of the internet protocol addresses, will have to answer as to where this emanated from, as to which individual or groups of individuals tried to malign the Prime Minister of India.
Former Prime Minister of India. And Sanjay Jha, Dr. Ilmi says this could well be internet trolls, this could be vandalism. Why do you suspect that there's something far more sinister? There's more to this than meets the eye.
You know, it's a very ironical, actually a paradox, that today Mr. Modi is launching Digital India, when at the same time you're having a very sinister, we suspect, you know, a gross abuse of technology. The fact that, you know, on Wikipedia, which is yes an open platform, but at the end of the day the IP protocol or the address was from a government entity called the NIC. And if you have a government IP address, then you get very, very concerned, because this is a coloring of content, this is distortion and perversion of information. It's creating a very, very gross misinterpretation. And the reason why one worries, and I'm glad that Mr. Ilmi is on the other side,
yes,
that, you know, one reason, Gaurav, that there is a concern is that you have had a lot of institutions in India over the last 1 year which have got a saffron color. Now, whether it is Dinanath Batra writing books in Gujarat for the school students, whether
I'll come to that in a moment. We'll talk about that in greater detail. But on this specific issue,
a lot more complex.
I want to talk about the specific issue of a Government of India, a NIC address, and this is what makes it very sinister, Ijaz Ilmi, and that is why you can't just say Wikipedia needs to look at this, Government of India needs to look at this, and in the right earnest.
Gaurav, I agree with you that if the address originated from one of the NIC addresses, then obviously the NIC has much to answer. There is a web management committee, they have to look into this, that who is doing this trolling, who is creating this vandalism, because history of this nation can't be changed by a troll or a vandal or groups of vandals. And this, to suspect the Government of India having anything to do with it, is to actually negate the fact that, one must acknowledge there are thousands of trolls, thousands of vandals who misuse the net or for their daily
how many of them, Ijaz Ilmi, have access to NIC,
political or otherwise?
NIC and an IP, Government of India IP address, that is what makes this sinister. Somebody in the government, according to the Congress, is responsible for this.
if a government employee is responsible for this vandalism, then he will be found out and booked, because unfortunately or fortunately, when you use the internet, the markers are very evident, and in this case it's very clear from the investigation that no proxy servers, VPNs or Tor network has been used.
Okay.
If the IP address has been identified, the ownership of which is with the NIC, they will have to conduct an investigation to find out who, because every employee in the government of India who's using the network under NIC would have his own markers on the net. So it's not so difficult to find out who this person or group of persons were. Yes.
How long? How long? Are you giving us a timeline that this will be investigated in the right earnest and we will have the culprit perhaps in the next 24 to 48 hours? Dr. Ilmi.
No, I'm very confident that when you obviously somebody indulges in this kind of vandalism, I mean, you can't cover your tracks on the internet too well, because the proxy servers were not used the Wikipedia itself has talked about it, that there are various tools and mechanisms to identify a person, and in this case, if he's using an NIC
with that
internet protocol,
that this could be a job of somebody who's indulging in vandalism. Even if it's in the government, they will track him, they will go after him, but it's vandalism and nothing more sinister, according to Ijaz Ilmi of the BJP.
Gaurav, I believe the proof of the pudding is in the eating. You see, the reason why as a party, and I think as a country we need to be extremely concerned, is that if somebody is abusing a government kind of an address, he's doing it in a very brazen fashion. Perhaps did not anticipate that Wikipedia has got its own online editors who are perceptive enough to have taken immediate corrective action. But don't forget that end of day there has been a lot of an anti-Jawaharlal Nehru, anti-Gandhi philosophy or the ideology that the RSS and the BJP actually propagate. On social media, you and I both know it, that there are all kinds of images that are created, there are fake morphed pictures, there is a distortion of history going on every day. So I do believe that this is something that the government will have to demonstrate.
That's a very serious allegation you're leveling. Do you see an RSS hand?
That they take,
Sanjay Jha, do you see a Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh hand in this? That's a very serious allegation you're leveling, sir.
See, well, I'm going to tell you one thing, that if you look at the institutions
I don't think
of India today, whether it's the UGC, just a minute, whether it's the UGC, whether it's the ICHR, whether it's the ICCR, whether you look at the influence being done today in the IITs and the IIMs, there is an attempt by this government. You look at Film Television Institute of India in Pune, look at the censor board of films in Mumbai. There is an attempt to give this, strange kind of color that, only this party and this government understands nationalism, and therefore bringing up an old, kind of antiquated RSS ideology and philosophy into everything is the talk of the town. Even the Prime Minister talked about plastic surgery happening in a medieval centuries ago. So I think we need to be very concerned here. There is a political connotation. I believe that until we get to the bottom of it, I don't want to make any sweeping allegation, but if I think Dr. Ilmi is one of the more moderate spokespersons from the BJP. At least I'm glad he's not denying it outright as some kind of a Congress conspiracy to defame the government. But please let us have swift and prompt action so that we get to know who's the culprit.
And it could many in the BJP, Sanjay Jha, are saying that the Congress is creating a storm in a teacup. Everyone knows Wikipedia is not controlled by the government, it's not controlled by the BJP. Anybody can enter, write anything. Who takes Wikipedia seriously anyways? That's the BJP's point of view, or some in the BJP say so. Congress is creating a storm in a teacup. Your response, Sanjay Jha?
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that, Gaurav. I'll tell you something. I agree that Wikipedia is not the encyclopedia or the gospel truth or the holy grail. But Gaurav, don't forget that end of day, as far as Wikipedia is concerned, while they have their own editors who basically, kind of remove objectionable content, etc., or matters that can invite libel, the fact of the matter is that it is prone to abuse in the hands of people who have a malevolent intention. And in this case, attacking, and the kind of stuff that has been said about Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Motilal Nehru, and even Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru's grandfather, and talking about his private life in a very, defamatory manner, I think it raises huge concerns. I think this is a manifestation, I would say an ugly mutation of regimes that have a tendency to control information, distort information, pervert it, and perhaps misrepresented for the
again. You're leveling an allegation at the government. You're leveling an allegation, Sanjay Jha, and respond to that, Dr. Ijaz Ilmi. The allegation is that there's a government that could well be behind this.
Well, I totally deny this spurious argument. I mean, Sanjay Jha, at best of times, I mean, you can be juvenile in your comments, but this is infantile to assume that the government of India or anybody else is doing it. An act of an individual vandal which should be tracked down is something that how we see it. The government has no government can control the net. No government can distort history. It's a reality of life. We know what our history is all about. Who was Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru? Who his father was? I mean, if somebody making a comment, a troll or a vindictive vandal, that does not dictate or change the discourse of history.
So, according to the BJP, Sanjay Jha, Congress has no reason to be worried if some, according to the BJP, internet vandal writes that Ghayasuddin Ghazi, a Muslim, was Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru's grandfather. Why is the Congress concerned, worried, or raising such an issue about it? Because as far as Wikipedia is concerned, who takes it seriously? The academics don't, the students don't, nobody takes it seriously.
Well, I can tell you one thing, Gaurav, the worrying point here is not what the perception of Wikipedia is. A lot of people think it's a Bible. Some people, they just refer it for casual research. But once the information is out in the public domain of any respectable entity, it is subject to its own interpretation and abuse based on people's own convenience. Dr. Ilmi has been repeatedly saying trolls. Now let me tell you, Dr. Ilmi, the matter of anxiety here, why you should also be dismayed, these are not trolls. It has been identified as having an IP address which takes you back to the NIC. There's a government protocol involved. Now, therefore, there will be questions raised, and it is, if you were in RC today, you would perhaps have similar, if not a more aggressive reaction. So, end of day, if you do believe that this is, just a hacking incident which has actually been denied, people have said that NIC cannot be hacked in such a casual manner, in which case you are actually admitting that the NIC itself is a highly vulnerable technological infrastructure. No. I hope that is not the case for our own national security. So I think there are larger issues here beyond the fact that it is a troll. I do believe that the concern at a larger ideological level is that your government, Dr. Ilmi, with due respects, has been rightfully, accused of trying to change history. The way you all attack, create this confusion about Sardar Patel's relationship with Pandit Nehru. You bring in the Netaji Subhash Chandra relationship with, with independence movement. I think there are serious concerns that is there an attempt being made to defame, to somewhere down the line humiliate a leader because it suits you politically. Because
that's a strong allegation once again, Dr. Ilmi. Respond to that. Is there an attempt to rewrite history and show Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru in poor light?
Now, we are not discussing Nehruvian socialism out here. Everybody in this country understands who the first Prime Minister was, what our history is all about. If somebody, a troll or a vindictive vandal, is hacking into Wikipedia and is tracked back through the internet protocols with the address in the NIC, obviously it's incumbent on the NIC to find out which employee in the thousands of employees in the government department is doing this act of vandalism. And we have laws under Information Technology Act to take care of it. There is no other concern.
Okay, but Sanjay Jha, is this then time for the Congress to register an FIR, perhaps a criminal case, so that a criminal investigation can begin in this case? Sanjay Jha?
Can I tell you, Gaurav, I think we will follow this issue to its logical conclusion. The point that we are making, now we can file an FIR, we can, launch our own investigation into it, by putting public pressure. But, the way the current Mr. Modi's government has been reacting, whether it's Vasundhara Raje, Sushma Swaraj, Smriti Irani, the issues in Maharashtra, they're saying, why don't you give us evidence? What is the job of a government? The job of a government, the opposition, just give me a second, sir. The job of the government is to investigate any item that is being raised to it as a matter of propriety, probity, corruption or concern. End of day, it is the responsibility of the government to not just satisfy the Congress. Okay. But I think this is a larger issue of freedom of press, freedom of expression. Is there an attempt to distort history? These are larger debates.
And today it's happening with Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Tomorrow it could happen with another leader, and the BJP should be very concerned.
Absolutely.
So, are you giving us an assurance on the broadcast here, Dr. Ilmi, that this will be investigated and the culprit will be brought to book and this will not be brushed under the carpet, Dr. Ilmi?
The BJP is categorically saying that there's any attempt to malign the history of our Indian Prime Ministers, the past, present or the future, is not something that the government can look away from. And if the IP address has been tracked back to the NIC, and the NIC has a DG and a deputy DG and a web management, they'll have to answer these questions that who's making this attempt of vandalism, whether it's vindictive, intentional, malified, it has to be got into.
Okay, Sanjay Jha, does that response satisfy you?
Well, as long as, end of day, we get a very time-bound response to it, I think the risk that we run is that it will give a free hand to everyone on the internet who believes that they can get away with, all kinds of defamatory statements. Gaurav, you and I are fully aware, and you, I'm sure, experience it as well, that trolls on the internet abuse us day in and day out. Because they do believe that end of the day you're not going to take them to court, you're not going to file a case, you're not going to get into a defamation issue, because those things are time consuming for both parties. And that's the reason why many political figures, especially in our party, haven't been slapping back all kinds of IPC regulations on people who offend us. So I do believe it's a responsibility of the Modi government to live up to the expectation of every citizen in this country that we are safe from technological encroachment. This is
especially a day when we are celebrating the launch of Digital India. For the moment...